Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is Bahram Salih, who is the Prime Minister of the Kurdistan region inside Iraq. Mr. Salih, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I want to begin with a quote from President Obama, who had a meeting in recent days with the Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, and he said, "We're leaving an Iraq that is sovereign, self-reliant, and democratic." Do you share this view?
Iraq's liberation, the removal of Saddam Hussein, gave the people of Iraq the opportunity of building a democratic Iraq that hopefully is at peace with itself and at peace with its neighbors. Is democracy an ever-realized objective? I think I would say is a process. Iraq is a better off place without Saddam Hussein, no doubt about it. And we still have a long way to go to resolving our own domestic dynamics. But now Iraq has the ability to solving its problems and moving towards a democracy that Iraqis deserve and the Iraqis aspire to.
So the U.S. troops are going to withdraw fully by December 31st. Some people fear that Iraq, instead of going towards a democracy, however imperfect, could slide back to civil war.
This has to be a concern. I come from there. I cannot be complacent about the dynamics in Iraq. I think the stakes are very high for all of us, all components of Iraqi society, to making sure that the country has a fighting chance and make sure that we can defend ourselves and deter predators, and also find among ourselves a space by which we can work our problems through. We have to be concerned because this is an end of an era. The American withdrawal means a drastic change to our security environment. The onus of responsibility will be upon the Iraqi leadership across the board to making sure that we live up to that challenge and make sure that the country remains intact and that the power struggle among various components of Iraq's politics is within the Iraqi system, under the roof of the Iraqi parliament, instead through violence and sectarian conflict.
But do you fear this has been well prepared? I mean, it seems that it was a rushed exit, in fact.
I tell you what, this agreement between Iraq and the United States was signed in 2008, and the title was the agreement to withdraw American troops by end of 2011. I know some people wanted the troops to stay on beyond that, including us in Kurdistan, actually, because we thought that Iraqi security forces are not yet capable, fully capable, and the regional dynamics that we have, we thought that presence of Americans may help stabilize that environment. But at the end of the day, this was an agreement between the governments of Iraq and the United States. We have what we have. We have to deal with it. And I say to ourselves, I say to my colleagues in Baghdad, now is the moment of truth. We are essentially in a different ball game. We have to shoulder responsibility together. We really have to work together to make sure that the country does not descend into trouble, and we do not offer our detractors, whether they are extremists within, whether they are regional predators, opportunities to destabilize our situation.
What does it mean for Kurdistan, concretely, the U.S. withdrawal?
A change in dynamics, no doubt about it. Remember, Kurdistan since 1991 has had a no-fly zone by American troops. 2003, American troops came in and helped us overcome Saddam Hussein. We appreciate that, no doubt. But in another way as well, over the last 8 years, there were very minimal soldiers, if any, in Kurdistan. The bulk of the military presence was in other areas. So we have to be concerned about the strategic picture. But again, my hope is that we have a lot at stake in Baghdad, working with our compatriots in Baghdad, making sure that the basic understandings that we have about the constitution and about the new politics of Iraq's democratic federal system of government is respected.
And is this the message that you're getting from the Prime Minister and his allies?
I have to tell you, Iraq is a very interesting place. It's no longer a country run by one single man, and one single man cannot dictate everything that goes on in the country. We have very pluralistic political system, a lot of players involved. We need to work hard with the Prime Minister. We need to work hard across the political fields. We say to our colleagues in Baghdad, the history of Iraq is instructive. They started with the Kurds and ended up invariably against every segment of Iraqi society. Furthermore, a centralizing dictatorship in Iraq is a menace, is a danger not only to Kurdistan, is a danger to all of the people of Iraq, and I dare say a danger to the world. We've witnessed that with Saddam Hussein. So it is not only a Kurdish interest to making sure that Iraqi authorities are limited by the constitution, are constrained by the constitution, but also based on decentralization, based on federalism, and have very specific arrangements for separation of powers. We cannot trust any person or any group to hijacking the country again and using the oil resources of Iraq to use as weapons of repression and aggression against the neighbors.
Do you fear Nouri al-Maliki will become maybe a strong man or
it's
dictator?
Not about the person. It's not about the person. Nouri al-Maliki is our prime minister. We want him to succeed. We are part of his government. I think it's incumbent upon all of us to work in with him and making sure that he can navigate and work through the very difficult issues that he will have to work with. But this is not about Maliki. It could be about anybody else. We have a terrible history in Iraq. We cannot ignore that history. We need to be moving on. We don't want to be stuck in history, but we cannot ignore it either. By that I mean limitations, constitutional limitations on the authority of any entity or any person or any group is vital to making sure that Iraq will not go back to the old days.
One test case is the oil-rich region of Kirkuk, which is on the border of the provinces, the Kurdish provinces. There's supposed to be a census, a referendum. It's been postponed forever. Do you fear that this could really be the tinderbox again?
I remember on the eve of the war in 2003, many people predicted Kirkuk to be the tinderbox that will ignite the civil war in Iraq. Nothing of the sort has happened. Kirkuk is an important manifestation of the tragedy of Iraq. This is an oil-rich city. This is a place where Kurds, Turkmens, and Arabs lived together in peace forever. Saddam Hussein came and instituted a policy of ethnic cleansing, deporting Kurds, Turkmens, and replacing them with Arab settlers. This is the essence of what's has gone on in Kirkuk. We as Kurds look upon Kirkuk as part of Kurdistan, historically and geographically. My compatriots, the Turkmens and Arabs, disagree. What we have agreed in the constitution is a process by which we can go back to the original inhabitants of Kirkuk and have a census. This cannot be postponed forever, and I tell you why. Ethnic cleansing cannot stand. Ethnic cleansing is immoral, is dangerous, and I think the new leadership of Iraq, the new government in Iraq, the new political system of Iraq really must have the courage to deal with this.
What's the deadline for a referendum?
I don't want to talk about deadline. The deadline has been passed before, and we have an agreement with Prime Minister Maliki and the government to move on, and there have been some moves, as a matter of fact, to be fair, but still some more that needs to be done. We are working with the United Nations as well, trying to engage. This cannot be a zero-sum game. I, as a Kurd who was victimized by ethnic cleansing, I cannot condone inflicting injustice on others. So we have to work this problem through, but there is one fundamental factor called the Constitution. There is a provision that delineates the roadmap about how to solve the Kirkuk issue and other disputed territories. We expect the Prime Minister of Iraq, the government of Iraq, the institutions of Iraq to abide by that.
I want to get to another bone of contention, the oil. The Kurdish region has signed a number of deal agreements, especially one recently with Exxon. The government says it is not constitutional. Do you think this could really be a major problem between Kurdistan and the rest of Iraq?
It is a problem, but unfortunately, some of my colleagues in Baghdad disagree with us on this matter, but we tell them there are very clear constitutional rights to the regions making up the Iraqi state that allow us to develop in our oil resources. We tell our colleagues in Baghdad, those who doubt the legality of this and other deals, not just the Exxon deal, we tell them there is no way that in Kurdistan we would be dissuaded from our constitutional right to developing our own oil resources, and we will not allow some bureaucrats to control our destiny in Baghdad, because we have been there before, and oil was used as a tool of repression to commit genocide, ethnic cleansing, and repression of the Kurdish people. We're saying to our colleagues in Baghdad there is a win-win formula. Every barrel of oil produced in Kurdistan is added revenue to the Iraqi treasury and will be used for all the people of Iraq. In the past, Kurdistan did not produce, Kurdistan in the present borders of KRG did not produce a single barrel of oil. This year we exported through the Iraqi system 100,000 barrels a day on average. Next year we have an agreement with Prime Minister Maliki to export 175,000 barrels a day. That is pending the agreement on the budget law that is before Parliament. Iraq needs the revenues. Iraq needs to tap into the oil resources fast, create the funds that are needed to pay for reconstruction. Oil was a curse. Oil was a tool of repression in the past. I'm challenging some of my colleagues in Baghdad and say, let us work together. Let us develop our resources, natural resources, but make sure that they are going to be used for democracy, protecting the democratic system of government, and to pay for the reconstruction of Iraq.
Very quickly, there have been obviously shifts in the region, in Syria, in Turkey. How does this affect the Kurdish area?
Obviously, we're watching what's happening in Syria with a lot of concern. I'm saying very openly, the lessons of Iraq are instructive. No amount of repression can deny the free will of a people. The era of one-party rule is over, but it is also important to make sure that the various elements of of Syrian political opposition, establishment, whatever you want to call them, must make assurances to the future that Syria should be moving towards democracy, respecting community rights of the Christians, of others, and respecting the rights of the Kurdish people in Syria and eliminating many of the injustices that have been imposed on these people.
Okay, Barham Salih, thank you very much for coming on the France 24 interview, and thank you all for watching it. Stay tuned here for more news.